felek saldın beni cevri cepağa Hey felek saldın beni cevri cepağa Derdim bulgaç yıkılap demek sen bir vapağa Derdim bulgaç yıkılap demek sen bir vapağa
Welcome to Window to China and the Xinyu One. So you guys, when I read your bio, so amazing to me, your experience. Now can you introduce yourself and then talk about the experience, what you have achieved? Start with you.
All right, I'm Koran Saines. Thank you for having me here, and Toora, thanks for inviting me as well. Koran Saines, live in Sterling, Virginia, which is in Loudoun County. I am the vice chair for the Loudoun County Democrats and the president for the Loudoun County Young Democrats. Became politically active, let's say starting in 2008 with the Obama campaign, and have not stopped since. And have a passion for service, passion for helping others, and feel that we all need to do our part and vote in every single election, not just the presidential election, but every single election, because every election, especially your local elections, play an integral part in our lives and in our community.
Wow, welcome.
Hi, my name is Elizabeth. I am currently getting my master's degree from Georgetown in public policy. I live in Arlington, and I love the neighborhood I live in. I'm from Roslyn. I've been volunteering with a local school board campaign, and I have done fundraising for President Obama's first presidential campaign, as well as done fundraising for Senator Evan Bayh from Indiana. He was running in the presidential primary against Hillary and Barack Obama. And I have also had experience fundraising. I raised money in high school and college to preserve wilderness areas, and I helped start the recycling program at UCLA that's in the dormitories today. So.
Wow, I think you did the most important part to me. How about Toora?
Hi everyone. My name is Toora Arsala. I am a community activist. I've had many roles. I was delegate to the Democratic National Convention, the youngest delegate actually. I was also the former president of the College Democrats and my alma mater, Northern Virginia Community College. I was also the vice president for the Northern region for Virginia Young Democrats, and I've also been in the community, organized for many campaigns. I've also been on many news interviews, and I'm excited to be on this panel today.
So this is how many times you were on the TV?
This is actually my 6th time on TV. One can say I am a pro at being on TV as so
TV star, okay.
And a pro in politics.
How about you?
Hello, well, it's a pleasure to be here. My name is Jarrod Pollard. I grew up in Northeast Ohio and attended Ohio University, where I majored in communication and public advocacy. I first got my start in politics really when I went to visit my grandma as a little kid. We'd watch CNN and C-SPAN together, so I got the political itch at a very early age. So from there I worked at the Ohio Democratic Party and did some community organizing in Akron, Ohio around Senate Bill 5. We were collecting signatures to repeal that. And then first came to Washington in 2011 to manage a school board campaign in McLean, Virginia. And then from there, I'm doing opposition research for a few different firms and super PAC. So it's great to be here and glad to share my experiences.
Wow, great experience. How about Zachary?
My name is Zach Pruckowski. I've been pretty active here in politics since I moved back here in 2011. I've worked on races, ranging from town council and school board on up to, Senate and president. I've done pretty much pretty much a wide range of things. Everything from canvassing to data entry to I'm on the State Central Committee for the Democratic Party here in Virginia. Yeah.
Welcome to you. So you are Democrats, right? Why
Yes,
Democrats,
absolutely.
not Republicans? Start with you.
Good question. I feel that, well, to be honest with you, I feel Republicans are hypocrites. They on one hand will say that they want less government and government not to interfere with your lives, but then on the other hand they want to have some laws that do interfere and get into your everyday lives. And as a Democrat, we feel that you should be able to live your life as you feel and live and prosper and be able to help others that are less fortunate. And I feel Republicans do not have that same thinking.
Anyone want to share an opinion?
I can share an opinion. I think Republicans are idiots. First of all, I say that because we recently had this debacle of Medicaid expansion as one of our state senators resigned as he was, there's an investigation going on, but the other party is kind of persuaded him to resign to take a job in the Tobacco Commission. And I just think that the Republicans in general are just flat out stupid, because some of the stuff they talk about and are just hurting millions of Americans. I was affected by many of the Republicans' actions, especially Obamacare. I have many health issues, and because the Republicans won't act, I've been having issues getting a doctor or being seen at an emergency room only because of my health insurance. And also student loan reform. The Republicans are just talking bad about students and saying that it's the students' fault that they owe money. It shouldn't be that way, because students are our future and they deserve better.
Yeah, I agree.
I think that a lot of it comes down to, I think that the Republican Party has abandoned a lot of people, because the Republican Party used to be the party of Eisenhower and Teddy. And those are the kind of Republicans I would be happy to vote for, just in terms of they believed in they believed that we could use our power in society to make society a better place, whether it was using troops to enforce civil rights, or Teddy working to curb some of the largest excesses of big business. We used to have a situation in America where we had two parties who believed that we could make our country better by working together. And I feel like the Republican Party has, by and large, sort of abandoned that, to sort of fanaticist, free market ideology as an ideology, not as a, not as a well thought out system. And they've sort of abandoned the whole idea. I feel like they've largely abandoned the whole idea of pragmatism. I mean, you'll see a couple of them come around and try to talk about it, but when you look at who votes in the House, when you look at who votes in the Senate and what they say and do, they just straight up don't believe that we as a society and that we as a country can make America better. And that's one of the reasons why I couldn't imagine supporting them.
Yeah, I think they need the bipartisan cooperation. That's correct.
He's exactly right. And Republican President Eisenhower, Supreme Allied Commander in World War II, when he was leaving office in the presidency, warned of the military-industrial complex and so forth. So it seems like Republicans have changed their viewpoints towards certain things. I hold the view that government plays an important role in people's lives, and its function is to do things for people which they're not able to do on their own.
Correct.
I come from kind of a labor background. My father was a factory worker, and so he was represented by the Teamsters, and so every day we'd have kitchen table conversations of what the labor union was doing to support the membership and how they were working for better benefits and so forth. When you have an income inequality, when you have CEOs making 400 times more than the average worker, well, are they really working 400 times harder, or are they just scraping off the profits? So these are the kind of issues that are important to me, and especially with income inequality, and especially with the Affordable Care Act. We've had Social Security and Medicaid and Medicare, now the Affordable Care Act. So it's been the Democrats that have passed landmark legislation that's working to improve the everyday life of the middle class and to grow and expand it.
And I'll give you an example of what I was talking about earlier about them being hypocrites. For example, Barbara Comstock, who is our delegate in Virginia House of Delegates in my district, she voted against Medicaid when voted for a Virginia budget that did not have Medicaid, which would help Medicaid expansion, which would help cover estimated 400,000 in Virginia. So she voted down that voted for a bill that did not have that. But then on June 8th, she shows up to a Adams Center, which is a Muslim organization. They helped organize and create a free clinic in Chantilly. And guess who shows up in a bright, nice red outfit for a photo op? Barbara Comstock is there to to lend her support, show her support for a free clinic. But then the week previous, you just voted for a budget that did not have Medicaid expansion that would have covered 400,000, estimated 400,000 Virginia residents. So it's like, so that's where I was saying they're hypocrites. Where one thing they will say this, but on the other hand they'll do this that doesn't align with what they're saying. Yeah,
and I think that's important to look at from the Medicaid expansion perspective. The places that it's really hurting are hospitals and clinics. Correct. Because a lot of the people who, if they had Medicaid, would be just going to the regular doctor, wind up having to go to the ER. When stuff is an emergency, if you're having a heart attack and you wheel in the OR, they don't check for your insurance. They save your life. Right. So the people who are getting screwed by this really hard are our hardworking doctors and our hospitals and our free clinics, because this is how they're supposed to be getting paid. They're supposed to be getting paid to take care of to take care of the poorest in our society via Medicaid, and those checks aren't coming in because the Virginia Republicans are refusing the money. And they're literally refusing money that would be coming from the federal government, money that would be coming into our state that would help us, in our state we have budget problems in our state, to help us with that. It would help us create jobs, and all this money, instead of coming into Virginia, is just going to go to other states. I mean, they're sending money out of the state for no reason. Yeah,
I agree.
And one thing I wanted to add is many of the House Republicans, like Eric Cantor and John Boehner, this is one idea of ridiculousness. The government shutdown happened because of them, and I know my own parents were affected by it in a big way, as they were out of work for a couple weeks, and it's been very tough because we are a lot of families are struggling right now to pay bills, as the government shutdown did not help anybody. And I just think the Republicans in general acting stupid when they didn't work with the other side to come up with a comprehensive plan to come up with a budget plan, as everybody in America deserves better.
Yeah, and I would like to add, I think that there has been a negative reaction to the gridlock and the partisanship and the polarization, especially among younger Americans. I think younger Americans from both parties are more willing to work towards common solutions and try to pass bipartisan legislation, which is why it's so important for the youth from both parties to get involved. If you ask Americans, they want to end the gridlock, and they want Congress and any elected officials to try to work together towards common solutions that affect all Americans. And I think that the youth really need to get involved, because our generation feels that there are some common solutions that we can work towards.
Yeah, what are your opinions? So if you expect the selected officers do something for people, if you're guys elected as Virginia governor, what are you going to achieve? Who have any opinion or share? The
first thing I would do if I'm elected as a governor of a state is to, first of all, expand Medicaid, as it's affecting millions of people, and everyone deserves better. I would also create a bipartisan bill that would help millions of middle-class families and low-income families. And I would also do everything I can to work with the federal government to get aid for student loans, as students deserve better. And I know a lot of students who are affected by this. One of my friends is having some issues repaying her loans after she took a medical leave of absence. And I think the federal government should really work with the states to help them out in every way they can.
I think that there's a lot of misperception in terms of how much power any given elected official has. I mean, we all elected Terry McAuliffe, we all elected Barack Obama, but the reality is Barack Obama can't wave a magic wand and make things happen. And I mean, a lot of people are looking at Barack Obama and saying, why don't we have immigration reform, you know? Because he can't wave a magic wand and, you know, make, you know, there are 435 members of Congress, members in the House of Representatives, and you know, he can't wave a magic wand and make them work together. So that's it's important. Not, you know, similarly to Terry McAuliffe, we're saying, oh, we want him to do X, Y, and Z, but he can't because he can't get along with, you know, but the legislature's having a whole bunch of problems. That's why it's so important not to just show up and vote for president every 4 years, not just to show up and vote for governor, but to show up and vote for, you know, House of Representatives and, you know, Senate and state delegates and state senators. I mean, we came out in 2013 and people voted for Terry McAuliffe, but in 2015, you know, all those guys in the legislature in Richmond are going to be back on the ballot. And if people who showed up and voted for Terry McAuliffe and said, "Hey, I like what this guy's, you know, what this guy's talking about, and I like what he's trying to do," show up and vote in 2015, then we'd see a lot more progress. We would see a lot more progress as that would change the balance in the House, in the Senate, and maybe even in the House. I mean, I guess what I'm trying to say is there's no magic wand that politicians have to solve these sorts of problems. So I mean, I could say I would love to do X, Y, and Z, but the reality is, if I was governor or president, I would still have to work with all these other legislators that people come out and vote and elect, or as part of the problem is with our youth, don't come out and vote and elect.
Yeah, I know Virginia House didn't pass medical expansion, right?
Yeah.
Medicaid expansion, but Governor Terry McAuliffe won't pass that, right? Do you think he's going to pass that bill? Or it's hard.
It's hard right now because, like what Zach's point is, you have a Democratic governor, but then the legislative body is majority Republican, who are not going to, unfortunately, who are not going to work with them to get the right bill passed. They're going to sit on their hands, and pretty much their tactic is, which we've seen for the last almost 8 years now with Obama in office, is they're just going to sit on their hands and point the finger and say, "See, this guy's not doing anything," and they're going to try. That's their strategy. Is to get a Republican elected next election cycle, which they're thinking 3 years down the road, which we need to be thinking about right now. So back to your original question was, if I was elected governor on day one, or even president, whatever for that matter, on day one. And I'll order a general body assembly and explain to everybody, hey guys, we need to take the pens off that say R, take the pens off that say D. We're here to represent our constituents that voted for us, and to represent them and vote and look at these bills, look at the issues at hand, and take a serious look at them and listen to our constituents, listen to what they're saying, and vote the right way that's going to help the majority of our citizens, our fellow neighbors, to help them better live their lives. And that's not what we're seeing right now. We're seeing people on the Republican side sit on their hands and basically say we're not going to do anything, basically to try to show that the Democrats cannot govern, to try to re-elect somebody in 2016, which is just bad. Period. It's bad for business, bad for the U.S. And it's hurting us because our infrastructure needs to be rebuilt, which we're pretty much doing nothing. And here we are, the United States of America. Everybody can admit and say that we're probably the best country in the world. Well, everybody says that, but we have no bullet trains, which we should by now. It's 2014. We have no bullet trains in the U.S. Our bridges, our highways, they're bad, they're eroded, they're jammed, and we need to come up with other ways for transportation. And with Republicans just sitting on their hands, not working with the Democrats, it's just bad for business, period. And that's what I would do as my profession is human resources, so I like to bring people together, listen, and find a common ground. That's what I would be doing if I was governor, and try to find a common ground and try to get people to work better together.
Yeah, and just to add to that, exactly what you're saying, I think the rhetoric about how we talk about bills needs to change from inflammatory comments to how it affects everyday Virginians, because there are a lot of things that Virginians from both parties can agree on, whether it's transportation and these are the things that our elected officials are able to change and have the power to change. And, elected officials from both parties, I think, should see that their citizens would be happier with them passing legislation that betters their lives, whether or not it is bipartisan, instead of thinking and assuming that they will lose votes by working with members of the other party.
I think transportation is a great area to start for a compromise. Right as Governor McDonnell was leaving office, he did pass a major transportation plan that I think was praised from both parties. And people from Northern Virginia will especially recognize the need for transportation and infrastructure improvement and even Republicans will agree with that, because that's a loss of economic productivity if people are stuck in traffic. And so I think that's one area that could be continue to improve, as well as a good jobs package for people. If people are put back to work, that will increase revenue to Richmond and so forth, and so we'll have more money to spend on programs, necessary programs and so forth. So a good jobs package, Medicaid expansion, and then a good transportation, continue to improve upon transportation, especially in Northern Virginia.
The civil law, that's its example, that's correct?
Yeah, that's set to be opening pretty soon. In a few more years, it'll be connected all the way to Dulles, so that'll be great to connect people from the airport, and it'll be a hub of economic activity as people are bustled out of Washington and are going into McLean and Reston and so forth.
I think you all have a very good point. That everything should start local. That's correct?
Yes.
So how about we talk about campaign 11th, congressional district 11th race. Who involved in the activities?
Sure. Well, I've been working for Congressman Jerry Connolly, who's the incumbent, for pretty much 3 of his cycles since 2010, 2009 actually, and he has been great on his platform every year. There's been 2 cycles where it was a close race. We were all biting our teeth because we were kind of nervous that he was going to lose. But we came up in the end and prevailed, only because one of the elections, what we did was we dig deep into our opponent to see what they were up to. If there was any negativity, we went negative. Of course, campaigns should be positive, but if they go negative, we go negative. Only because
That's your point?
Yeah, that's my point, my key point. And also in the 11th, I got a chance to see firsthand the debates that are taking place. I was involved in many candidates forums that involved all candidates, and that was a great experience. And I fully support Congressman Jerry Connolly for his bid for re-election, as he is a great advocate for the youth, and he is a great person for Washington.
Wow.
So, in the 10th, we have John Faust, who was one of the Board of Supervisors in Fairfax County for many terms there, and he's done a great job. He's running to replace Frank Wolf, and Frank Wolf has been in Congress longer than I've been alive. And as many people know, he's retired, which is this is a great opportunity to turn his seat from red to blue. So I encourage everybody to get out and to work very hard for John Faust, and even for Mark Warner, who's running for re-election in Senate. But John Faust is definitely a guy we need to work hard for and get elected into Congress. He's a very good Democrat, and I have been supporting him ever since he's declared that he's going to be running, and that was way back in January, February, earlier of this year. And Zach, do you have anything else to talk about on the 10th?
I mean, I think it's definitely a race where there's a very stark choice in terms of Barbara Comstock. When we talk about all the radical legislation that's coming out of Richmond, in terms of the whole ultrasound thing, or when we talk about stuff not getting done in Richmond, Barbara Comstock's pretty much the epitome of that. She's like one of the most conservative members of the House of Delegates. She voted against the bipartisan transportation bill, the one that everyone up here in Nova is saying, "Oh man, that's so great! They actually got something bipartisan out of that was bipartisan and good out of Richmond." And Barbara Comstock fought it tooth and nail.
And she's from Northern Virginia.
And she's from Northern Virginia.
So yeah, go figure that.
And we made the national news as a laughing stock for some of the from some of the radical legislation that folks like Barbara Comstock, endorsed and sponsored and voted for. So I think it's really sort of, that's Barbara Comstock. And on the other hand, we've got John Faust, who's been working here in Fairfax for a number of years, on the Board of Supervisors, and has been doing a pretty good job of getting things done, getting done what needs to be done, and doing it in a bipartisan way, and not just passing whatever the folks in his party decide is, hey, let's see how radical we can go since we have the votes.
Yeah, that's.
So I think it's a pretty clear choice in this race, and I'm proud to be supporting John Faust, who actually got in before Frank Wolf got out.
Interesting. We see the 8th, District 8th race too.
Yeah, so the 8th Congressional District race, Congressman Jim Moran has been a great congressman for many years. I remember volunteering for one of his campaigns, and I can tell you, Congressman Moran loves to get stuff done. He loves to be out in the community. And this year, fortunately, we had a total of 13 candidates in the race. And I actually worked on the Bruce Shuttleworth campaign for Congress. Bruce was a great candidate. He had a great platform, a great story, and I was happy to work for him. And we had so many great candidates. We had Patrick Hope, Adam Ebbin, the list goes on, but I think it was a great primary season, and I'm happy that every candidate was positive and did not go negative, and I'm happy to have my endorsement for Don Beyer, as Don is a great guy. I first met him a couple years ago, and I can tell you that Don loves to get stuff done, just like Congressman Moran. And I'm happy to endorse him because I think he'll be a great fit for Washington, D.C.
I heard about the Don is a good fundraiser, right?
Yeah, I would echo those sentiments. In total, Don Beyer was Lieutenant Governor under George Allen and served as a fundraiser for President Obama and raising huge sums of cash, and then also was ambassador as well. So he's put his time in, as well as being a leader in the community with his Volvo dealerships and so forth. So people know who he is. I'm happy to see where he goes. I've seen him and met him before, and he speaks with a high degree of intelligence, and he seems like the kind of person that would be willing to work across the aisle and get things done for the nation. So I'm happy to see where he goes from here. The kind of person that would be willing to work across the aisle and get things done for the nation. So I'm happy to see where he goes from here.
Wow, we have a wonderful discussion. We only have 1 minute left. How about you summarize something, the experience you want to share?
Okay, well, maybe just to add off of the fundraising idea, I've helped with fundraising for President Obama, Senator Evan Bayh, Senator Dianne Feinstein, and it seems to be a controversial issue among elected officials to have campaign finance reform, but I would say among most Americans, it's something that we can all agree on. The amount of money that candidates and elected officials have to raise in order to run every election cycle is astronomical. It's too high, it's too much, and it is, to be frank, a waste of money.
Yeah.
I think that it's something that really needs to be addressed. I think most Americans would like to see some sort of campaign finance reform.
Yeah, I mean, we not just like money, but an idea, the belief, how you can help the party achieve the things, get things done, right?
Yeah.
Oh, thank you guys joining us. We have a wonderful discussion. So thank you for watching. We will see you next time.